Okay, so we are on day 4, trinomial factoring with substitution. On the backside is something called cube factoring. We're not going to be doing that this year. We're going to cut that out. So we're just going to focus on the front page here in these 4 problems. And these are trinomials, however, they look awfully strange because they have an expression inside the parentheses. And so we're going to make it a little bit easier by doing a substitution. And here we go. So in number 1, if you can see, it is a trinomial, but it looks strange. So what we do is we let a different variable, let's say w. We're going to let that represent the expression inside parentheses. So you'll see what happens. So we're going to say let w, it could be any variable, equal x minus 3. So what's going to happen is that this x minus 3 is going to become a w. This x minus 3 is going to become a w. And what happens is now if I rewrite it, it's going to be w squared plus 2w minus 8. And that's a nice, easy trinomial. So off to the side, we set up our x box. We're going to multiply to negative 8, and we're going to add to 2. And if we think about the numbers really quickly, I can go ahead and say that they must be 4 and 2. And to get a positive 2, I'm going to have to make this 2 negative. So that multiplies to negative 8. And if I add them, I get a positive 2. And so now we're going to go ahead and factor it. Because it's an easy trinomial, we can go right to the factors. With our 2 sets of parentheses, w squared gets broken up into w and w. And one has a plus 4, and the other one has a minus 2. And so that's factored. However, we didn't start with w, so now we have to go back. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace our w with what we let it equal from before, which is x minus 3 and x minus 3. Okay, now that those x minus 3s are back in for w's, we're going to go ahead and just rewrite it so you can see that we have x minus 3, but plus that 4 inside there. And this factor has the x minus 3 with the minus 2 in there. And because these are like terms, we're going to go ahead and clean it up, and that actually becomes x plus 1. And over here, we'll clean these up because they're also like terms, and that becomes x minus 5. And that is our answer. Weird, huh? So by using a little substitution, it makes the factoring easier and we arrive at the right answer. So let's try another one. So over here, we're going to go ahead and let w equal x minus 1 this time. That's the expression in parentheses. So we're going to cross those out, and we're going to put w's in their place, and we're going to rewrite, and it becomes w squared plus 4w minus 12. And that's, again, a nice, easy trinomial. So we set up our x box off to the side. We're multiplying to negative 12. And at the same time, we're going to add to positive 4. And if I think about the numbers real quick, I'm going to say that they have to be 6 and 2. And the 2 has to be negative in order for this to multiply to negative 12 and at the same time add to 4. And now we can go ahead and factor our easy trinomial. W squared gets broken up into w and w. 1 gets a plus 6. 1 gets a minus 2. But we have to remember that we were not given w's in the beginning of the problem. So we have to go back and fix our substitution. This w actually used to be an x minus 1, and this w also used to be an x minus 1. And if I rewrite that, that becomes x minus 1 plus 6. And this is x minus 1 minus 2. And if I clean those factors up, because these are like terms, that becomes x plus 5. And this becomes x minus 3. And those are the factors and answers of that original trinomial being factored. Let's try 2 a little bit trickier ones. You'll notice the expression inside the parentheses got a little bit harder, and that's what makes these ones a bit more difficult. But we're going to keep exactly the same thing we've been doing. So it's the same procedure. We're going to let w equal this beautiful expression of 2x squared plus 3x. And so I can take this whole expression out and replace it with just a w. And when I rewrite it, it becomes w squared minus w minus 2, which again is a nice easy trinomial. And we're going to look for numbers that multiply to negative 2 and at the same time add to negative 1. And the only numbers that multiply to 2 are 2 and 1. And to get a negative 1 when we add, we make the bigger number negative. So that multiplies to negative 2. If I take the numbers and I add them, that gives me a negative 1. So I know that they're correct. And because it's an easy trinomial, we can go ahead and factor it into w and w, 1 with a minus 2, 1 with a plus 1. But remember, we weren't given those w's. We came up with that w by making that substitution. And so now the w's have to return to what they used to be. This w used to be a 2x squared plus 3x, and this w used to be a 2x squared plus 3x. And so now if I rewrite these, this is a 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. And this one is 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. And I would say we would be done, except those look like hard trinomials. And so those have to be factored in order for this question to be completely factored. And so I'm going to take one at a time and go ahead and factor them. So with this trinomial here, this first one, because it is a hard trinomial, because of this 2 out here, our multiply is actually going to be negative 4. And our add is going to be the 3. And if we think about the numbers, they have to be 4 and 1, and the 1 must be negative in order for the multiply to work and the add to work. And because it's a hard trinomial, we have more work to do. And so we're going to go ahead and keep the 2x squared term. Then we're going to put the plus 4x next, then the minus 1x, then the minus 2. Or we rewrote it like that so we can factor by grouping with these hard trinomials. In the first group, we pull out 2x. Left over would be an x plus 2. Out of the second group, I can pull out a negative 1 and be left with x plus 2. The x plus 2's match, so they become my first factor. And the guys on the outside, 2x minus 1, get squished together for my second factor. Okay, it'd be cool if we were done, but we're not. Because there is another hard trinomial here that makes the trinomial difficult. And when we multiply that 2 by the 1, that becomes our multiply to 2, and we're going to add to 3. And the only two numbers that are going to do that are 2 and 1, and they're going to stay both positive so that the multiply works and the add works. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and put this in here so I don't get confused with the work I already did on that side. So the 2x squared gets rewritten, and then the plus 2x, the plus 1x, and the plus 1. We're going to go ahead and group, and out of the first group, we can pull out a 2x, and we'll be left with x plus 1. Out of the second group, we have to pull out a plus 1 and left with x plus 1. We are in good shape because those match, and that actually becomes my first factor. Guys on the outside, squish them together. 2x plus 1 becomes my second factor. And I'm going to put these factors with these factors, and so we're going to have x plus 2, 2x minus 1, x plus 1, and 2x plus 1. And all 4 factors are my answer. And this one is done. Whew, a lot of factoring. All right, we have one more to practice. And so over here in number 4, again, it looks like a trinomial, but with those goofy expressions inside. So we're going to go ahead and let a nice, easy variable like w equal those expressions, which is 4x squared plus 4x. And so by doing that, this gets replaced with a w, this gets replaced with a w. And so we end up with w squared minus 23w minus 24. and that becomes a nice easy trinomial. We're going to go ahead and multiply to negative 24, and at the same time, add to negative 23. And so they're going to have to be 24 and 1. And the 24 is going to have to be negative in order for the multiply to work and for the add to work. And because it's a nice easy trinomial, we can go ahead and write to the factors, where we'll have a w minus 24 and a w plus 1. However, we weren't given those w's in the beginning, and so we're going to have to go back and substitute them out. So this w used to be, okay, so that w is going to go back and get replaced with 4x squared plus 4x. And the other w will also be replaced with 4x squared plus 4x. All right, when I rewrite these, it becomes 4x squared plus 4x minus 24. The second one becomes 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. And again, it'd be cool if we were finished. We could box those up, but those look like hard trinomials, and so we're going to have to keep factoring them. In the first one, what I do notice, because we are supposed to check for greatest common factor, there is a 4 in common between all three terms, and we can pull out that 4. When we do, we're left with an x squared plus x minus 6. And that actually turns that into a nice easy trinomial. So off to the side, I am going to go ahead and multiply to negative 6 and add to 1. And my numbers are going to be 3 and 2. And 2 will be negative in order to add to the 1 and multiply to the negative 6. So because it's an easy trinomial, I can go right to my factors, which would be x and x, one with a plus 3, one with a minus 2. And don't forget to drop the 4 down. And this side has been factored. So we're going to put up the little bar here. And now we have to do and factor the other side. However, there is no greatest common factor. And so it's going to remain a hard trinomial. And we'll set up our x box. And our multiply will be this 4 times that 1, which is 4. And our add will be the middle number, which is 4. And the only two numbers that multiply to 4 and add to 4 are 2 and 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. And so that works. But because it is a hard trinomial, we are going to have to rewrite that hard trinomial. So we have 4 terms. So it'll be 4x squared and plus 2x plus 2x plus 1. And we rewrote it like that so we can regroup and group. Out of the first one, we can go ahead and pull out a 2x, and we'll be left with 2x plus 1. Out of the second group, there is nothing in common. Therefore, we're going to pull out a positive 1 so that we could be left with that same 2x plus 1. Those again match, and so 2x plus 1 becomes my first factor on the side. And guys, on the outside, squish them together, and 2x plus 1 is the second factor as well. And so now if I put all the factors together from both sides, we have a 4, an x plus 3, an x minus 2, a 2x plus 1, and I could put a squared here instead of writing the other one right alongside of it, or I can just write it out, doesn't matter. And all of those factors are my answer. Ooh, that's a big one. Okay, and that's called factoring with a substitution. Okay,